Hello SLAPAFISH community, and welcome back to another one. Thanks, Concept. So in this video, I'm going to be comparing three tanks. The Leopard 2AV, which is the brand new Aero 2 Western Alliance German heavy tank. It's the new Leopard, premium Leopard. So currently there are three Leopards in the game. The VT-2 and the 1A1. So we're going to take those two tanks and compare it to the 2AV and see how the 2AV actually stands up against them. So let's just get on to it. Right now, the 1A1 and the VT-2 are both mediums. So why am I comparing heavies to mediums? Well, heavies and mediums are usually pretty same in Cold War. They're just classified in different ways. They're just main battle tanks, really. Anyway, don't let that fool you. So, as you can see, the 1A1 just has the better DPM, VT2 has the worst. So, basically, the 2AV is in the middle of the gun DPM. Also, this is AP, this is heat, and this is HESH. This is AP, heat. AP, HESH. So, that's a heads up over the VT2 already, because you get HESH, because HESH is always really nice to have, high explosive. As you can see down here, I put it down here. The penetration is the worst between all the Leopards, but the penetration is still above average in the era. I mean, that premium penetration is still pretty nice. The high explosive, the HESH penetration is 230, so yeah, it's nice. It's the same alpha as the 1A1. Yep. As I said, the reload is in the middle of the two tanks. AP, heat, and HESH for your rounds. It has a 1.9 meter splash radius, same as the 1A1. And the caliber is the same size as the 1A1 at the 105 millimeter. Now the shell velocity is currently in the middle between the two tanks. The VT2 has the best shell velocity unless you're talking about the premium rounds of the 2AV. Oh wait, actually the shell velocity is the same of the 1A1, except for the premium. As the ammo capacity, the potential damage is way higher than the VT2. Now we get to gun handling statistics. The aim time and accuracy is both in the middle of the VT2 and the 1A1. And now let's start getting into some buffs of what the 2AV actually does better than these tanks. So the gun depression is 9 degrees, gun elevation is 20 degrees, all the Leopards have that. Turret rotation is 40 degrees, so yeah. Its top speed, even though being a heavy tank, its top speed is better than the VT2 and the 1A1. The reverse speed is actually better than the VT2. The horsepower and the horsepower per ton, it is tremendously better than the VT2 and ahead of the 1A1. Even though being a way heavier tank. So that means you can actually really ram people in this tank. But a heavy tank still has terrible terrain resistances. Track diverse is actually worse than the VT2 and the 1A1. Now, I'm not going to really talk about the armor. As you know, the 1A1, it's just a paperweight. It doesn't have armor. But the VT2 and the 2AV, that's where the competition actually is. Now, these armor model is actually kind of weird because don't worry about these numbers. I'm just going to go in game and show you the armor modules, Leopard 2AV versus the VT2. Also, the 2AV currently has the highest amount of hit points in Aero 2 at 3,100. Because it's a heavy tank and not a medium, it gets terrible concealment at 9%, 0.09%, which is terrible. Fire chance is 10%. It makes the same amount of silver as the 1A1. Tank XP, Commander XP as the 1A1, but it earns 4% for XP, just like the VT2. Now, the view range is terrible because it's a heavy tank at 470 meters, but it has the best signal range. But signal range in Cold War doesn't really matter. So if you're doing gold prices, the Leopard 2AV is the same price as the VT2. I know right now it's not, but when all these tanks go off sale, this is their not on sale. This is like their original price value. At $12,500 for the Leopard 2AV, $12,500 for the VT-2, and $11,000 for the 1A1. Now, how can you get these tanks? The 1A1 is currently level 100 of the season pass, so you need a season pass. That's 2,000 gold. The VT-2 is currently 50% off, so that's about 6,250 gold that you can buy the VT-2. Also, the 1A1 gets a 3D skin that you gotta buy. The Leopard 2AV is currently 20% off. And I don't remember how much it is. I think it's about 10,000 gold. And it also gets a 3D skin. So, I'm actually gonna go into the garage and I'll meet y'all there. So, I'm here in the garage. So, here's the VT-2, here's the 2AV. So the sad thing is the VT-2 does not actually get a 3D skin. And the Leopard 2AV actually does get a skin. And here's the skin showed off. So I'm also trying to debate which tank actually has the better armor. Now, let's just go over the armor right quick. So let's go over the VT-2's armor right quick. Here's the armor actually of the VT-2. So you got 330 in places right there. You got 310 there, 280. 280 on the gun mantlet. 250 on the sides of the turret. 210 up there, so that's a weak point. 190. 160. 140 on the sides, so the tank actually can take some ATGM hits. Also, that's a 100mm plate there, and there's also another 70mm plate right there. And is there any more plates right there? No, there's not. So you got some 80 right there. You got some armor all the way around here. You got 66 at the front, 60 behind the space armor, 50 on your lower plate, 35 right there. Also, this is a really good spot. The lower plate is a really good spot to fire hash in, and it just pins every time. It's fantastic. 35 on the sides, but you also got to remember there's some space armor on the sides a little. 30 down there. So the sides, so overall the sides and the rear of this tank, you don't want to get hit there. But the front is where your armor's pretty good. ATGM hits can actually get absorbed, but you do have the weak point on top of the 2AV, and you have that lower plate. But also your upper plate is capable of bouncing up some shots. And your turret has some weak points, but is pretty impenetrable. So now we move on to the 2AV. Now, the 2AV is a different story. So the 2AV has 310 right there, 295 right there. Don't know why, that's so weird. 255 right there, 250 at the gun mantlet, 240 behind it, 235 on its lower plate. Is there a space armor plate? There is. It's 75, so that's actually 75. So your lower plate is actually pretty effective. It's just like the M1A2 lower plate. And is there any more? There's another piece down there. People hit it. Let's go back. Okay, you get 225 right there. 200 on your turret ring. 190, 180 there. 135 over there in the weird places. 120 on your sides of your turret. 115, 100. There's you at 80mm plate. It is pretty decently angled, so it is capable of bouncing shots, especially if you use your 9 degrees of gun depression. But you also got to remember there is some hull armor, which is there's your armor that you gotta. So basically, you got to shoot through that 90mm plate to pin that 20mm plate, which is not as good as the 2AV. I mean the VT-2, but it's still pretty nice. And the side armors are pretty bad, but you do have space all over the side. The rear sucks, as you can see. It's 15mm of armor right there, so don't get shot there. So overall, the VT-2, the 2AV, as long as you use your gun depression, they're not going to pin your upper plate. Your lower plate is pretty strong. Don't get hit in the sides and the rear of the tank, especially the rear. And you can actually take ATGM hits. I've taken ATGM's hits in this tank, and they didn't do a thing. Also, the turret armor is pretty strong, but you're not going to bounce everything. So I'm guessing the VT-2 actually has the better armor here. But this one's faster. So it's up between the VT-2 and the 2AV of who has a better armor. Depending on your playstyle of which one you like better is probably the armor that works better for you. So, yeah, that's it for this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. It's free. And also, on screen right now, it's me comparing the 1A1 versus the 2AV. So, yeah, go check that out. I mean, the 1A1 versus the VT-2. So, go check that out.